2024 Twin Cities Immigration Forum. This is a monthly meeting that's co-hosted by the City of Minneapolis Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and the City of St. Paul Immigrant and Refugee Program. My name is Michelle Rivero. I'm the director of OIRA Minneapolis, and this meeting is to address topics of interest and concern to immigrant and refugee residents and individuals and organizations that serve the immigrant and refugee community in the Twin Cities. This monthly series originated in 2021 as a way to unpack federal immigration policies, programs, actions, and news, and has expanded beyond immigration updates to include discussions on a variety of topics touching Minnesota's immigrant and refugee community with community and government speakers and updates. I will turn it to Edmundo to introduce himself, and then we'll walk through the agenda quickly, and then we will turn to our speakers for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Edmundo Lijo. I'm an assistant city attorney with the City of St. Paul, and I am charged with managing and developing the immigrant refugee program for the City of St. Paul. Thanks.
Super. So the agenda is in the chat. I'm just going to talk it out quickly and turn it over to our speakers. We have Director Christy Rollwagon with the Department of Public Safety, who will share information about some videos on flooding and handouts in multiple languages. Then Annie Nolte Henning will talk through the Community Response Hub and Welcome Corps. We have some city updates, including Minneapolis Black Business Week, an update from the St. Paul Police Department, Minneapolis Arts and Cultural Affairs, and we'll also be talking briefly about Career Force Community Hours on Lake Street. We'll invite you to share your updates if there are updates that you have that you'd like to communicate to this audience. We'll touch briefly on some immigration news, including a proclamation by the Biden administration and Haitian TPS. We'll have time for additional government and community updates, and then we'll talk about upcoming events and our next meeting in August. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the mic over to Director Rollwagon from the Department of Public Safety. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Michelle and Edmundo. Nice to see you both again. I know our paths crossed months ago on the sudden arrivals work group that we were together on. And today you get me in my purest form, and that is being the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for a much more traditional, familiar subject for us as emergency managers, and that's flooding. Unfortunately, we have experienced a number of storm events here in Minnesota. It began back actually May 21st in Mower County, and they had a significant severe weather event that resulted in about $400,000 worth of damage, and they have requested some state assistance for that. We then went to June 2nd and 3rd. That weekend, we had quite a bit of rain in Todd, Rice, and Sibley County that will most likely also result in a state disaster declaration. June 12th, we had tornadic activity in Crow Wing and Aiken County, and right now we've seen a request for state assistance from Crow Wing County. And then most recently, and probably the one that everyone has noticed or taken notice of, was the flood event that started for the state around June 16th. And that was just the rounds and rounds and rounds of rainfall, in excess of 17 inches of rainfall in 36 hours in some parts of our state. Really transcended most of the entire state from north to south, with areas like St. Louis County, the Duluth area being affected all the way down to the Iowa border with some of our southern community. We've got a total of 42 counties that are included in our current disaster declaration for the federal government. That incident period, like I said, started June 16th, and it went through July 4th. And really that's only on paper because we have to go when the last river goes out of major flood stage. And that was in the city of St. Paul, the Mississippi River there at Darien Island. But we do still have a lot of water in these communities, especially down south. Up north is pretty dried out in the sense that the flash flooding that they had for 6 and 7 inch rainfalls that came through earlier in the month has resulted in, a lot of damage to critical infrastructure, roads, bridges. The Sudan mine had to pump out a lot of water. A lot of parks and DNR lands have been impacted, with a lot of areas that were closed, unfortunately, for some of the summer camping sites that are traditionally open. And then now we're concentrating on moving into a recovery process here. And so what that means, we received this federal declaration, and the declaration is FEMA assistance, and that's because we met our threshold for public infrastructure damage in 20 of those, I believe it was 20 of those counties, or 22. I think we have 20 counties still to adjudicate damages in for public infrastructure. At the same time, we're also seeking individual assistance, and that would be for homeowners, and it would be based on the amount of damage in the community, the number of homes that were majorly damaged or destroyed due to water or wind events. It depends on if they have homeowners insurance or flood insurance. It depends on if the person lives in that home as a primary residence or is it a secondary lake home type residence, vacation residence. So that gets much more complex, and that takes a lot of time to figure out and to determine. So we are in the process of working through the request for individual assistance for homeowners, but we are confident we will receive, and we have received, a declaration for public assistance, and that's to restore roads and parklands and all the public infrastructure.
That's awesome. Hey, Christy.
Yep.
I've seen additional people hopping on,
Sure.
And as you're talking through this information, which is really valuable,
Sure.
if you could just identify just one more time. I know you're with the Department of Public Safety, and
Sure.
when you say Homeland Security, people in the immigration sphere immediately, I think Homeland Security at the federal level. So if you could
Sure.
identify the office too,
Sure.
as you're going through your additional remarks, I think that would be helpful for everyone.
I can do that. So I am the director of the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management at the state level under the Department of Public Safety. And really the only reason we are called Homeland Security is because we are not federal Homeland Security. We're not ICE or Customs and Border Protection or TSA. We are more of the critical infrastructure for our state, securing that. We do a lot of the intelligence gathering around critical infrastructure, and then we also distribute the federal Homeland Security grants to our state and local partners. That's really the role of Homeland Security I have. 99% of my job is emergency management and dealing with natural, man-made, technological disasters. And so we've just had a pretty big one in our state with the flooding.
Wonderful. Thank you.
As I was saying about individual assistance, one of the things that comes with that is a lot of angst over how am I going to, clean out my home, and how am I going to, account for all the things I've lost? How do I replace them? What if I can't stay in my home? What resources are out there? So we partner in our State Emergency Operations Center, and then also in the Disaster Recovery Task Force, with a lot of the voluntary agencies that are active in disasters. Our partners are the Salvation Army, the Red Cross, a lot of the other voluntary agencies that fall under that umbrella. And with that also comes a partnership with public television through our ECHO program, the Emergency Community Health Outreach Program, or TPT Now. And so there are resources that are on our Department of Public Safety website, as well as TPT's website, that deal with flood information, how to clean out your home, flooding care packages, number of languages. We have Somali, Spanish, Hmong, Ukraine, Russian, Haitian, Creole. And so it's been translated into a number of languages. And then also they were TPT Now on their public television channel. We're running some of the flooding messages and cleanup recovery type resources. So we have worked quite extensively with TPT ECHO to get that information disseminated out through our trusted community partners. But at the same time, we know that there are other avenues where folks can seek information, and that's traditionally through the faith-based and community-based organizations, and then the Minnesota voluntary organizations that are active in disaster. So there will be a long recovery process that goes with this, to include things like possibly small business loan assistance or agricultural recovery assistance, and then unemployment, if it results in unemployment. And we do see we meet the threshold for some unemployment insurance. There is opportunity for that. So as we figure out the extent of damages in the state, we will start to draw in some of our partners from the Department of Economic Employment Development, from Small Business Association. And so they will be part of our disaster recovery task force going forward. So we're just literally coming out of response phase. We ended what I call our response phase on Tuesday morning, and we are now starting that roll up to recovery. And it just is going to take us some time with FEMA coming back on the ground to assist us to understand what the individual loss is in all of these communities. So what I will part with is just an ask of the group, and that is what we've been asking everyone that we've spoken with, both publicly and privately. If you know your community has damages, the best thing you can do is document those damages. There's a high likelihood that there are a lot of folks in our state that have already rolled up their sleeves and cleaned things up. So if they've got, if they've already mucked out their home, or they've already, pulled appliances and done the carpet, drywall, that kind of stuff, and it's all sitting by the curb, those are pictures that are worth taking as well, because that proves that there was damage. If they've taken things to landfills already and they've got the permit that they needed to take it, that is a piece of documentation that'll be helpful as we quantify damages in these communities. And there is actually a QR code where an individual homeowner can upload right to the state. They don't have to worry about it passing through multiple hands at the local level or the county level. It can go right up to the state, and what it does is it scrubs any personal information that would be information that folks may not want to share. And so it would just be an identifier as to a community location for that damaged home site or, damaged infrastructure. So we're working really hard to understand what it looks like in terms of the impact to the state, but most likely we're looking at a couple $100 million in damages in our state. And that's not including, well, if we have to count the Rapidan Dam that gave way in Mankato there, that's going to be $100 million alone just to tear that dam down. So we're talking about a long-term recovery for our state from this event.
Yep. Thank you so much, Christy, for what you've shared. I did put some links into the chat, which is the information that I had received earlier from Department of Public Safety in different languages. Would also note that there are videos. So if you go to that link, the flooding care package, that has videos in multiple languages. And then I did have an email address, the community affairs team. And Christy, you want to make sure that that is the correct email address. If people have questions or want to follow up, or working with a specific community and want to understand if there are additional materials that are available in language or want to partner, is that the right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. So I really appreciate that you shared this information. I know when people experience disasters, sometimes knowing that there are resources at the state level that can support you is not your first thought. Your first thought is like, how do I clean out my house? Like, what have I lost? Kind of taking stock. So I appreciate that the state has been so engaged and has prepared these materials in multiple languages, and want to make sure that if people have questions, and I see that there's a question already from Rodolfo Gutierrez from HACER. Please go ahead, Rodolfo.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Christy, for the information you shared. This is Rodolfo Gutierrez, and I work in an organization that does some research, but also support some communities. And we do have an office in Mankato, nonetheless. And we were in touch and working with a couple of centers that were assisting new arrivals. They were flooded. They needed to evacuate the people, and the people, they don't know what to do. I know that you were talking about homeowners and all that, but is any time, or would be, or is right now contemplated to assist these people who are displaced and they don't have any other place to go to? Or what we can do to support them, because they were not a large number, they were families, but they were at the end, they are now struggling to find a place to live in.
Sure. So you said Mankato area. So I would encourage
Right.
I'll put the contact in the chat, but it's the Blue Earth County Emergency Manager. And what we would also do is, even though Michelle's, we are engaged at the state level, all of this starts at the local level. And so we want them to work through their local emergency managers up to the state. And if the local emergency managers can't support them, then we would engage state resources as needed. So I will put that contact in the chat for you. And I would ask that you just reach out to Eric Weller is his name, and he's the Blue Earth County Emergency Manager down in Mankato.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you. Other questions that people may have for Director Woolwagen while she's here today?
Happy to come back as needed, Michelle, or provide information through the Community Affairs team. But yeah, it's nice to see everyone again. I just wish it was under better circumstances. But that's what we deal with in Minnesota, I guess.
Yep, that's right. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. Really appreciate your time and all the information that you've shared. Edmundo, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. And thank you, Director. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate the update. Very important information. Next, we have Annie Nolte-Henning, Executive Director of Community Sponsorship Hub, who's here to give us an update, an exciting update on the Welcoming Corps program. Hi, Annie.
Hi, thank you, Edmundo, and thank you, Michelle, for having me here. And thanks for everyone for joining. As Edmundo said, I'm Annie Nolte-Henning. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Sponsorship Hub, but I spent 11 years prior working for ALIGHT, formerly the American Refugee Committee, which is an international humanitarian agency in town, but that has in the last 2 or 3 years built up a domestic program. And so I know I worked with many of you during the the APA program, and also Uniting for Ukraine. So it's good to see all of you here. As I mentioned, I now have the privilege of leading the Community Sponsorship Hub. It's a national organization that was created in 2021 to build out a sponsorship program in the United States. The U.S. has never had a national program. It's always been prior to 1980, when the 1980 Refugee Act created a resettlement agency in the U.S. Sponsorship was always done informally in mosques and synagogues and churches, and so Welcome Corps is the first sponsorship program that the U.S. has ever had, heavily adapted from the Canadian model that is many decades old now. And so my organization is called the Hub because it allows and us to engage new and existing actors to really to help build out more welcoming communities. And so we also lead the Welcome Corps Consortium alongside the State Department. So the Welcome Corps is a program of the State Department. There's a group of 7 nonprofits that are working together to implement it. We're in year 2 of a 3-year pilot. Some of those consortium members you all have heard of, HIAS, International Rescue Committee, Church World Service, and then there's some new organizations like mine who are really working to innovate and transform the way that we do resettlement, because we know the domestic capacity is we're never going to be able to address the needs of global refugees. So we as in my organization, we're really laser focused on building community engagement and expanding the role of communities and private citizens in refugee resettlement, because like I said, we're working to welcome 125,000 this year. It sounds like we're going to get close to about 108 to 109,000 by the end of the fiscal year. And then so Welcome Corps is really working to meet that gap in between what our national resettlement agencies are able to absorb. And so we work very closely with community partners like the Karen organization in Minnesota, the Oromo community, ALIGHT, different organizations that are really directly working with both sponsors and refugee newcomers. And my organization is more behind the scenes, ensuring that we have the infrastructure to enable these sponsorship relationships, and then works to bring new organizations into the ecosystem and decentralize it as much as possible. So just to paint a little bit of a picture, 4 years ago, there was only about 50 organizations across the US that had any type of community sponsorship program. Often this was in the resettlement agencies as like a co-sponsorship model where the resettlement agency was still providing comprehensive services, and then they would activate groups of volunteers to handle some of those services as well. We now have tripled the number of organizations who are working directly with the sponsors in the US. So that's really, really great because we know it's going to take all of us. And so this ecosystem is growing really quickly. We're bringing in higher education institutions. I've been having a lot of conversations with universities and campuses in Minnesota, philanthropic institutions, private business, because this really is a public-private partnership. The State Department has generously and pretty creatively given pilot funding to do this, but we know that in order for it to sustain, we really need the private support. And so I think that there's a few different things that the Welcome Corps is able to do in this like really highly politicized moment where immigration is in the headlines every time you open your phone or reach for the Star Tribune. And so first, what we've seen is that the Welcome Corps allows us to resettle people in places that haven't been able to before. So as you all know, often we can only resettle refugees within urban areas where there are resettlement agencies close by. And so, but with the Welcome Corps, we're able to, our first 2 arrivals last year were actually in Worthington and Moorhead. And so it's allowed us to also address external factors like the housing crisis or workforce gaps, and not everyone is going to the same place. It's also really worked to democratize refugee resettlement. Anyone can do it. We're not just depending on our resettlement agencies who are overwhelmed at all moments and working at 150% to do this work and are still rebuilding themselves after the last administration. And then the last thing is that we've been able to build quite a argument that it's cost effective. So it's citizen powered. It's not solely reliant on appropriations from the federal government. And it's really about private citizens stepping up and raising funds. And so there's a lot of research out there on how sponsorship will lead to better outcomes in communities. I'm happy to share any of that with you. But I wanted to speak to all of you because I feel really fortunate that I'm also based in Minnesota. This is a national program. 90,000 Americans now have raised their hands to be a sponsor, which is really, really incredible. And Minnesota is leading the pack and leading the nation by a tremendous amount. So Minnesota has over double the amount of sponsors than the next in line, which is, I think, California, Texas, and then maybe Washington. So as of today, over 3,400 sponsor groups have committed to welcoming more than 10,000 refugees to Minnesota. And that's comes out to about 17,000 Minnesotans. So what that means is that our community partners, the Somali diaspora, the Karen Organization in Minnesota, they're really the ones that are walking hand in hand with these sponsors to ensure they have what they need. And so really, really trying to ensure, my job is to ensure that these community partners then have what they need since they're on the front line. Just to then break down the Welcome Corps a little bit to you all, there's 2 different ways that sponsors can sponsor through the Welcome Corps. You can sign up to sponsor someone you don't know. So like, for instance, I just created a sponsor group with some individuals in the community, and we are going to sponsor a family that we don't know, though we are putting in a preference for an Afghan family. Beginning in December this year, we launched the second phase of the program, which is called Being Able to Sponsor Someone You Do Know. And it's the first time in US history that someone is able to refer a refugee to be resettled through the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. As you can imagine, sponsoring someone you know has been wildly popular. It makes up about 99% of our cases, because it is a way that people are finally able to reunite with family. And so our communities in Minnesota have just like really stepped up. We are seeing many cases that are Somali, Eritrean, and Ethiopian are the largest caseloads. And now seeing a lot more from Latin America as well. So there is eligibility criteria, of course, to both being able to sponsor and then being someone that can be sponsored. And so I'll share a link to we have an eligibility tool. In order to sponsor, you have to make up a group of 5 individuals that are U.S. citizens or permanent residents. There is a fundraising component. You must raise funding that is equivalent to what resettlement agencies get. So right now that is $2,425 per individual, and then you're committing to offer the comprehensive services that our resettlement agencies offer, right? So that's like helping enroll children in school, getting access to public benefits, finding secure and affordable housing, helping secure employment. And it's a 90-day commitment. And so right now we are working as fast as possible, knowing that we have a really important election in front of us. And so we are really working closely with our friends at USCIS and the Department of State to help move as many cases into arrivals as possible this year. I think what else is really important for you all to know, if you hear from communities that you think could benefit from this, we know, you heard me say like this democratizes refugee resettlement, but I also know that some people might not find sponsorship accessible. And we really do want this to be able to be done by anyone. And so we have 2 different resources that we have a lot of resources, but we have 2 specific that I want to mention to you all. We have a sponsor fund, and we also have an Airbnb fund. Our sponsor fund works to help provide financial support to groups that want to do the hard work of sponsorship but cannot meet the financial requirements. Really important for you all to know, if you hear anything from me today, hear this. Right now, we have a very generous donor who is paying 100% of the financial requirement through July 31st for any group that is interested in sponsoring someone they don't know. So if you know of a group that has been interested in forming a group, please let them know. There's the window of opportunity right now where all financial requirement can be taken care of through the sponsor fund. And that goes through July 31st. I mean, I'm hoping for a extension, but right now it goes through that date. And so keep that on your radar if you know anyone that's really been thinking about pulling the trigger. The other thing is that we have a fund for Airbnb that we offer to people who are looking for temporary housing before a family gets settled in. And so this also offers people the agency to decide what part of town they want to live in based on jobs or preferences. And so we are able to offer 30 days worth of housing for groups to be able to use as soon as the refugee newcomers arrive. We really know that this work needs to be decentralized. We are doing a road show right now through the U.S. We were just had a stop in Minneapolis and in Indianapolis because communities know about this. And they, of course, the immigrant community are the ones that really are doing the work. They're stepping up, they're mobilizing, they're putting groups together because it's really a chance to be able to reunite with family or loved ones. And so we're working to get the word out there as much as possible. I believe in my heart of hearts that this can withstand the political winds of a new administration, but by decentralizing it and having hundreds of thousands of Americans raise their hands to do it, it will show any administration that the American people want this and want to be able to resettle refugees, and that we have the resources to do so. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I will also share a few links in the chat as well. And I really just appreciate the opportunity to share more.
Thank you, Annie. I have a couple of quick questions and open it up to others. First, I want to make sure I understood. There are 3,400 sponsors sponsoring 10,000 refugees. Is that just to Minnesota or is that nationwide?
There's 3,400 sponsor groups in Minnesota, which equals about 17,000 individuals sponsoring 10,000 refugees.
Okay, so we can anticipate receiving 10,000 refugees in what time period? You just say that is.
That's a really fair question, Edmundo. I can understand why you would like to know that. So you also just know that many of those cases have there are some that aren't certified yet, and they're somewhere within a process. I think that we will start. I would say that we can expect half of those in the next 6 months to 1 year. I mean, there's
Okay.
some that will, for some reason, not be able to be fully referred or certified. But I think we can assume that there's going to be in the low thousands in the next 6 months to a year.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. And knowing where they want to settle so that we as cities can participate and assist in that resettlement is always of interest to us.
And I should also mention we work really closely with the state refugee coordinator and the at the state level, Kelly Schmitz, we've worked really closely with, and so they are always being given information as we get news of an arrival as well. But we are always working to ensure that we are as coordinated as possible. So everyone from the state to the city to the Worthingtons also are alerted, so we can ensure that no one falls through the cracks.
Okay, and then I have one really quick question
Yeah.
about the sponsor fund. You said the deadline is July 31st. What do people have to do in order to be qualified by the 31st?
Yep. So by the 31st, you would have had to submit an application for the Welcome Corps saying that you are committing to sponsoring a refugee individual or family that you don't know, and tick a box that say you are interested in the sponsor fund, and then you would be conditionally approved.
Great. All right. Thank you. I also note that Rodolfo Gutierrez has his hand raised. Do you have a question, Rodolfo?
I don't have my hand up.
Oh, okay.
No, it should be someone else. Sorry. It was not me.
Okay. Any other questions for Annie?
Annie, I do have a quickie question. I thought I heard you say that there are folks who had arrived in Bloomington. How many individuals have arrived already through Welcome Corps? I'm sorry, not Bloomington. I thought you said Worthington.
Worthington? Yeah. So altogether, there's now, out of the thousands, I think there's a low 300 arrivals. Most of those are matching. So matching cases are moving faster than naming because they're already in the US Rep system. But now that we have many, many, many more naming, we've seen we just started seeing our first arrivals through naming the second week of June. And now we are seeing dozens nationally each week. So national each week. So I can actually get you a breakdown of how many in Minnesota now like I said, I mean, Minnesota is leading the pack, which means that we, of course, will have more arrivals. I know we have a colleague, Jane Stockman, is welcoming the family she's sponsoring next week, and so there will be more airport arrivals happening. But I'm happy to get you state statistics of how many have arrived in Minnesota thus far.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And you can imagine most of those are in the Twin Cities, but we have seen, I mean, the first two arrivals in all the program happened on the same day last World Refugee Day in Worthington and Moorhead. So that was really special.
Yeah. And excited there's a Minnesota connection, such a strong Minnesota connection to this program. So, I mean, we have such a great history of resettling refugees here. I'm not surprised.
It's a proud moment. It makes me look good. So no, it's really, really special.
Yeah, it is. And thank you for everything you're doing. So, all right, if there's no further questions for Annie, last call on questions for Annie. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to Michelle.
Super. Thank you so much, Annie. Really appreciate you hopping on and all the information that you've shared, as well as the links. I think we're now going to turn to some city updates, and our first speaker will be talking about Black Business Week in Minneapolis. I see Emily Peterson, you look ready to go. So I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and share information about Black Business Week.
Absolutely. And Michelle, is it okay if I share my screen? I just want to walk through the events.
That's just fine. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for having me today. My name is Emily Peterson, and I work with the City of Minneapolis on the small business team. And I have been the project coordinator this year for Black Business Week. This is our 4th annual Black Business Week, where we lift up and celebrate Black businesses in Minneapolis, as well as highlight resources available for small business owners in the city. And like I said, I'm going to share my screen to walk through the businesses or the events that are occurring this year for Black Business Week. So Black Business Week will occur Monday, July 22nd through Sunday, July 28th. With a variety of events, both hosted by the city and by partner organizations. The first event that will be taking place is on Monday, July 22nd, is our kickoff event. It'll be happening at Minneapolis Event Center, and the theme of this, the kickoff event, is access to capital. So the theme for Black Business Week throughout the last 4 years has really been building wealth in the community and business owners, and breaking down barriers for business ownership. So we're excited to have this panel during our opening event, and it'll feature speakers from Bremer Bank, Groundbreak Coalition, the Minneapolis Black Chamber of Commerce, DEED, and Anthony Newby, who is the CEO and founder of Cultivated CBD. So we'll be talking about the newly regulated THC market and business ownership there. And so anyone is welcome to attend the events. The kickoff event is really, really fun. So we encourage anyone to come. We're also expecting to have about 35 different vendors, so you can shop with Black business owners, as well as tabling from some local organizations talking about services that they offer. The second event that we're hosting is a mini conference, and that's at UROC, which is the Urban Research Outreach and Engagement Center in North Minneapolis. And this will take place from 9 a.m. to noon on Tuesday, July 23rd. And this is really an opportunity to come. We're going to have a couple workshops, and then we're going to have tabling with a lot of different city departments. So this is an opportunity to talk to our procurement team to learn about how as a business owner, you can get contracts with the city, how you can sign up to be on our target market program, so you can learn about procurement opportunities. You can talk with our Department of Civil Rights, our small business team, to learn more about city resources. And 2 of the confirmed workshops at 9 a.m., we're hosting a workshop by Caselli Business Services. He's doing a workshop of starting your own business, a path to wealth creation, and that's at 9 a.m. And then at 11 a.m., we're hosting a marketing workshop with Genius Innovation Group, which is going to be talking about innovation and developing your value proposition for your new business. And we're also working on adding a DBE certification workshop to this event. So talking about how you can get your business certified and various certifications for women and minority-owned businesses, as well as the benefit of doing so. And that's a really great opportunity, again, to network and learn more about opportunities within the city of Minneapolis to get resources for your business. On Wednesday, July 24th, Emerge Minnesota is hosting a career and networking event. So this will be a job fair focused with Black business owners and with youth employment. So this is open to anyone to attend this event. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Emerge offices. And they're also partnering with Connect Up Institute to do a workshop on marketing during that time period as well. So I'm flying through this. So I'll answer any questions at the end. On Wednesday, July 24th, we're hosting an emerging developer project tour and social hour at the newly renovated Coliseum building. So we're going to walk through and take a tour of the building. This building is on East Lake Street and had a lot of damage to it and has been recently renovated with utilizing a lot of different community resources. And we're going to have a panel discussion with the small new developers that made this reconstruction happen. So it'll be a good opportunity to meet some folks who are in the real estate development space, and especially if people are looking at owning their own business or owning their own property. It's a good opportunity to learn about resources in that space. On Thursday, July 25th, we're hosting the East African Business Fair at Brian Coyle Center. It will be from 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Caselli Business Services is also going to host their workshop, Starting Your Own Business, A Path to Wealth Creation, a second time at this event as well. And so we plan on having about 20 to 30 different community organizations and partners with the city of Minneapolis there, where people can talk with them and learn about resources available to East African business owners. Again, anyone's able to attend this event, though. We do plan on having translators at this event. So if folks need translation service when they're talking to the various vendors there, we'll have that available. And then Caselli Business Services, who's offering the workshop, also is fluent in Somali and Oromo. And so he will be able to offer some translation services with this workshop. He's also bringing in 2 of his clients who are business owners. One is from the Somali community and one speaks Oromo to talk about their experiences in opening a business in Minneapolis and what resources they took advantage of during that process. The second 2 events, I'm just going to switch my tab here, are being hosted by our partner in West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. So they are hosting a mixer on July 25th in the evening. They are also doing a tour of Get Ready Rooms, which is a Black-owned business right across the street from Bar Brava. And then on Saturday, the 27th, they're doing a street mall at the Capri Theater. And so there'll be pop-up shops and some entertainment. And so it'll be a really fun family event. And they are still accepting applications to be a vendor at that pop-up shop. So if you know business owners that are interested in being a vendor at this event, they're still taking applications.
You know, if you would be able to share the link for that in the
Yes.
chat so people can pull it, I think that having that opportunity that's still available would be
Yeah.
really interesting for folks. Thank you, Emily.
Yep, and I will share both of the links. We are still adding some of the information to the website, but if you so check back, but the registration links for all the events that you need to register for are up there. And I should say you don't need to register for them. You can show up and we are happy to have you. But we just like to get a count of how many people we're expecting. So it's been really fun in the past. So I encourage you to share this information and attend some of the events yourselves if you're in the area.
That's fantastic, Emily. Thank you so much. It just sounds bigger and better every year.
Yeah.
If you would identify a point of contact, if people want to reach out with any questions, if it's on the website, super. If there is a point of contact by email that you would suggest, you can put that in the chat as well.
Yep, I can put my email in the chat, and then so you can reach out to me directly, or I'll put our small business team email in the chat as well. If you have any questions, I should just can I make a really quick plug about the small business team?
Yes.
Perfect.
I want you to.
So the small business team with the city of Minneapolis, we're a small team, there's about 6 of us, but we offer business services, and we work with a lot of new immigrants who are opening businesses, and they're navigating questions about getting a business license or finding a spot. So I'll put our small business team email in the chat, but we have 3 folks on our team that is their job, is to answer these questions and help people navigate city processes. And then my job is with our business technical assistance program. And so I work with community partners to help provide no-cost consulting services to folks that are looking to open businesses or are business owners. And most of the people that we serve are micro business owners with that are solopreneurs with 5 or less employees. So really helping the really small business community or small business owners in the city.
That's awesome, Emily. And I'm glad you made a plug for your department and office, because I was going to do that too. Honestly, I've been so grateful for a partnership with the small business team. There's a lot of cultural competency there and interest and expertise in helping small business owners or people who are interested in entrepreneurial activity in getting started. And so the more people know about this resource at the city and the connections and the technical assistance that can be provided, the better. Invite folks to, if you have questions for Emily about Black Business Week, or more generally about small business team or BTAP, I invite you all to share any questions that you have right now. I see Emily has put contact information for herself and the small business team in the chat in case you want to follow up with questions afterwards. We'll just hold it open for a second, and then our next speaker will be Mina with Arts and Cultural Affairs, also with the City of Minneapolis. But if folks have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or just shout it out right now. And Emily, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Super. I'm not seeing any questions. So Mina, I know this was a last minute ask. I'm super duper grateful that you're able to join us from Art and Cultural Affairs. So I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Michelle. I am going to start with adding information in the chat. My name is Meena Mangalvedekar. I work with Arts and Cultural Affairs Department at the City of Minneapolis. It's a brand new department, so you may not have heard about us before. I'm here to tell you a lot more about the first round of programs we have. So our 2024 fund is now available. And is it okay if I screen share?
Please.
Okay. All right, so I added a link in the chat for this website, and just because, it's more colorful than my face, so I'm taking you there. So whether you are an artist or not, whether you live in Minneapolis or not, visit our website, and you will find a lot more, about what we are doing, what we want to do. Right now, we have an initiative called Cultural Districts Art Fund. This is a program which houses 3 other programs for cultural districts. And these cultural districts are legally recognized as a geographically concentrated population of people of color, immigrants, and as well as underrepresented community members. So there are 7 cultural districts in city of Minneapolis. And currently we have 3 different programs. You can read a little bit more. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the 3 names of the programs. So we want to activate each and every cultural district through these 3 programs, and each program has multiple awards available. So for example, the Cultural Districts Ambassador, which is on the left on your screen. So we will choose one ambassador, and that could be an organization, an artist, or a group of people. And you do not need to be an artist. You could be an art service organization, arts advocate, or a group that really wants to see a lot of arts and cultural activities in the district. You can apply for up to $15,000 award for that district, and then you get to tell the city what is the vision for that particular cultural district. The program in the middle is Pop-Up Art and Cultural Activation Program. So this is where I would say, if you know any new artist, who is just trying to understand the art scene, or trying to build their portfolio and want to create art in community settings. So this program is for them. We will be funding 5-ish or more awards per cultural district. And with that, $5,000, we imagine that you can just be very innovative for a short amount of time. So, think of temporary events or activities. It could be a small music event, or appearing at farmers market. Also think of, what you could do in the form of small block party. So those are all temporary projects, no traces left behind. So, bring your environmental conscious thoughts and, practice new ways of experiencing culture. Mainly, first generation, immigrants, as well as someone who is new in the city, and you want to express how something has been experienced in your life. This is a good program to apply, and you can try out. So give it a try. The next program, which is on the right side of your screen, is Festival and Cultural Spaces Activation. So here things do get a little bit more complex because we want you to interpret what cultural spaces activation means. I know it means different for different cultural communities. So you can define who this activity is for. And how it benefits the communities of the selected cultural district. And it could be a straight up festival that is traditional, and you just want to invite more and more people to experience it. Or it could be a new way of bringing the community together and produce culture. This could be a good opportunity for neighborhood organizations, cultural organizations, also groups that are coming together for sports activities, or combining, teaching and, community building. And you can ask for up to $16,700. We want to award 3 to 5 awards per district. So we have $50,000 set aside per district. So however many applications we can fund through that, we are going to do our best. And overall, for all these 3 programs, how can you be eligible? So you could be living or working in one of those cultural districts or in close proximity. So go back on this website when you have time. You will find, a map and area showing, boundaries of each cultural district. And then imagine you are within the 5-block radius from that district, and any activity that's happening within that area is eligible, for this application. So think of, how can you connect or create better connection within that community? How can you foster new connections with these communities? And what does it mean to lead that project, for you? And if you have any questions, my email is in the chat. You can contact me directly, or you can contact us through this website as well. So I'm going to scroll back to the top. So when you visit our website, you will find programs and funding opportunities on the menu, and you can read more about each of this program. And also, when you go on a page, you will see apply here button, very conveniently available to you. We hosted a longer information session, as in I'm trying to give you a crash course right now. We talked about each and every program in detail, and that recording of that meeting is available at the button just below our application button. So visit, those resources, and let us know, if you have any questions. You can also look at the application questions ahead of time on each of the program page. So I'm going to stop screen share, and I hope I did not go over time.
No, this is perfect, Meena. And again, many, many thanks that you joined us so quickly and have shared so much information today. Thanks for sharing your contact info. If people have questions for Meena today, feel free to ask, or invite people to reach out afterwards. These are wonderful opportunities, and I invite people to share these opportunities within your networks. We recognize that individuals with immigrant and refugee roots bring a variety of riches to our communities, including cultural riches. And it's lovely to have these opportunities to fund projects and initiatives that bring culture to community and to our city. So thank you again, Meena, for joining us. I'm not seeing any questions, but imagine people may have follow-up questions for you afterwards. I appreciate that you've shared your contact information. For those who may be watching afterwards, also want to share, if you don't see the links, if you type in Minneapolis Arts and Cultural Affairs, that will be the first website that pops up, and you should be able to find contact information there as well. So thank you again. Thank you for being with us today, Meena.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share, we're at 5:31, and usually we go to 5:30, but this meeting time does last until 6 o'clock. So we have a few more updates and want to make sure that community members and other individuals who are with us today have an opportunity to share your updates too. I'm just going to share a couple of things. The Minneapolis Voter and Engagement Services Outreach and Communications shared a couple of updates that I want to make sure that people have. There's a resource fair tomorrow, July 12th from 12 to 3 p.m. It's open to all members of the community, and there will be tablers from many different areas, including healthcare, housing, and employment. You can also visit the Minneapolis elections table for people who are U.S. citizens to register to vote and get informed about the state primary election. There's also a voting pop-up at Midtown Global Market. We recognize that many individuals who are born outside the United States have acquired U.S. citizenship and are eligible to vote. So this voting pop-up at Midtown Global Market will be Friday, August 2nd from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the food court. It's open to Minneapolis residents who are U.S. citizens and eligible to vote. This is an early voting option where you can cast your ballot in the state primary election. Language and same-day registration support are available at this event. So a couple of updates here from City of Minneapolis Voter and Engagement Services. And I also wanted to share an update with regard to Career Force community hours. City of Minneapolis staff, including the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, as well as City of St. Paul Immigrant and Refugee Program, participate in community hours at the Career Force Center at 777 East Lake Street on Wednesdays from 2 to 4 p.m., where we provide information around orientation information around immigration and legal assistance, shelter options, accessing healthcare, and more. This coming Wednesday, July 17th from 2 to 4 p.m., thanks to the City of Minneapolis Health Department, there will also be vaccinations available. So COVID vaccinations for 6 months plus, as well as Tdap and MMR vaccines. That's next Wednesday, July 17th from 2 to 4 p.m. And the Career Force community hours are every Wednesday from 2 to 4 p.m. If you're interested in learning more about that, feel free to connect with me at, and I'll put my email in the chat. And Edmundo, if there's anything else you want to share about Career Force hours, please do. Otherwise, I'll ask you if you can transition to our next topic.
Sure. I don't have anything else to add about workforce hours. I just think anyone who's interested really should contact Michelle and come on down. It's a opportunity to really connect with a lot of the new arrival community in Minneapolis and St. Paul. I will just do very quickly some updates from our St. Paul Police Department. Has several community engagement events going on. There's a program of Safe Summer Nights where our police officers do family-friendly events. There's food. They barbecue hot dogs and hamburgers for everybody. They there's a bike giveaway. There's a raffle for a bike giveaway. First responder vehicles are there. Kids love that. The fire trucks and they do all kinds of demonstrations. This has been an annual event for many years now. There are 6 usually over the summer. There are 4 left. 2 dates in July, 1 date in August. They're held at many of the community centers in St. Paul. I will send the flyer out to everybody with all the dates and locations for the Safe Summer Nights event. Also, our police community engagement specialists hold What's Going On. It's an information and resource fair where they provide community resources to different neighborhoods in St. Paul throughout the summer. They have information around youth programs, housing programs, immigration services, employment services, mental health, wellness, and more. This year, they also have a special program where people can register to come in and police liaisons will measure your children, measure the car seats, and if your car seats aren't the right size for the children, they will give you a new car seat. They will also give people who don't have car seats. So there's a car seat program in St. Paul that's been very successful the last couple of weeks. And if you know anyone who is in need of a car seat, please send them to one of these events in St. Paul. And then finally, there is an event. Give me a second. National Night Out, I know is done all over the Twin Cities, but the St. Paul will be having a specific location for our National Night Out as a community at Parque Castillo over at 149 Cesar Chavez Street in St. Paul on the west side. And the large number of city folks will be there as it's a city-sponsored National Night Out event. And with that, Michelle, I think we can go on to our next topic, which I believe is immigration or community updates. Are there any other updates from community that people would like to share? I see one hand up.
Hello.
Yep.
Hi.
Go ahead. Yes.
This is Howard Dotson. I wanted people to write the mayor and the council. We're asking for the DOJ United Against Hate to come out to Minneapolis. They were here already after the 4 mosque attacks. And we want to support houses of worship and anyone who faces the threat of hate and violence with this political climate. So the DOJ United Against Hate program, we want them to come out to Minneapolis. So I'm asking people to write Mayor Fry and the council member.
Thank you, Howard, for that suggestion. Would you like people to connect with you if they have questions or would like to learn
Sure.
more? Would you like us to put your contact information in the chat?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, sounds good. I just put your contact information in the chat. Thanks so much for joining and thank you for sharing that suggestion. Any other updates or comments or questions from folks today?
If not, Michelle, we can move on to immigration updates very quickly.
Sure,
Okay. Do you want me to do that
go
part?
for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. First, we'd like to talk about on June 18th, President Biden issued an executive order which created some opportunities for spouses of U.S. citizens who may be undocumented and have been in the U.S. for more than 10 years. There will be an opportunity for them to get what's called parole in place, where they'll be able to apply for their permanent residence in the United States and be able to get work authorization while they go through that process. That program has not started. Very important that regulations will be coming out probably the end of this summer, beginning of fall. So if people know or hear that someone is saying we can get you registered for this program, we need to be very careful because there is no program yet to register for. So really want to keep an eye out for people who are trying to exploit people who might be in this situation. And as soon as more regulations come out, we will let everybody know. Also, as part of that executive order, President Biden issued a new program to assist DACA recipients who may have gotten a degree from a U.S. university and can may be eligible for an H-1B visa, an employment visa, which would then make them eligible for permanent residence through an employment-based petition and ultimately citizenship. So it would be a path for citizenship for some DACA recipients. Unfortunately, in the past, they couldn't take advantage of that pathway because when they have to leave the United States in order to get the H-1B visa. And when they do, they'd be subject to bars and would not be able to re-enter the United States for 3 to 10 years. So this program allows them to get a waiver before they leave of those bars and can come back and participate in the H-1B program. Again, more information will be forthcoming once the program has been initiated. And that'll happen hopefully at the end of the summer, beginning of spring. And lastly, I'll just mention that TPS for Haiti has been extended and redesignated. On June 28th, the Department of Homeland Security announced the extension and redesignation of Haiti for temporary protected status. It's for a period of 18 months from August 4th through through February 3rd of 2026. And we can provide through our email, through an email with a Federal Register if people need more information about TPS for Haiti. And that's what we've got for federal updates, Michelle.
Yep, and I did put the information in the chat so that people can pull some of these links on these immigration-related updates. If folks have questions, certainly feel free to reach out to us offline. If there are any additional updates that people who are in this meeting would like to share, please raise your hand or feel free to put it into the chat. We also wanted to share some information, including upcoming events. This Sunday, July 14th, is the Twin Cities Sister Cities event. All sister cities will be highlighted in Minneapolis with a special spotlight on the 10th anniversary of the city of Minneapolis's sister city relationship with Bosaso, Somalia. So we'll put a link for that in the chat. Sister Cities Day event will take place from 12:30 to 5 on Sunday, July 14th at the Nicollet Island Pavilion. Also want to give a heads up that there are a couple of festivals. Kari Fest is taking place at the end of this month. India Fest is taking place in August. And also want folks to start thinking about Welcoming Week 2024. Welcoming Week is September 13th through 22nd. There'll be activities hosted in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Edmundo and I are starting to talk through the planning process and invite individuals and organizations that may be interested in participating in Welcoming Week activities to connect with us. Welcoming Week is an opportunity for communities to come together, whether communities of long residents in our cities or in individuals in communities that are newly arrived. This week of celebration always coincides with Citizenship Day or Constitution Day, which is September 17th. I'll put a link in the chat around Welcoming Week so people can get a little bit of orientation around that. And I do see a hand raised. I'm not sure if there's an additional update or piece of information or question that that someone wanted to share. I think, Howard, it's you. I don't know if your hand's still
Yes.
raised, if there's an additional, go for it.
I'm advocating that we have a sister city in Ukraine. Bucha is one of the cities that was hit the hardest from the Russian full-scale invasion. We have a sister church relationship. St. Michael, St. George's in Northeast Minneapolis. Their sister church is St. Andrew's in Bucha. So I'll be there on Sunday, and I'm hoping that next year we have a sister city in Ukraine.
Thanks so much for that suggestion, Howard. I am going to share, I'm going to put it in the chat right now, the information about Meet Minneapolis, which is an organization that is contracted and helps the city manage our sister city relationships. I think in terms of initiating that conversation, that is one important entity to connect with. But appreciate you spreading the word about that and identifying this advocacy opportunity as well. And also invite folks to come out to the Sister Cities celebration event at Nicollet Island Pavilion on Sunday, this Sunday, the 14th. Edmundo, I'm not sure if there are any other updates that we wanted to share. I did want to plug some information in the chat from Xcel Energy. If people are impacted and have lost power, some outage links and how to obtain assistance just in the event that that's something that's important for folks. But I think that was all that I had. So I'm not sure if there's anything further from you or if there's anything further from our audience before we wrap for today.
Nothing further. We don't have any extra credit. It is summertime, so we thought we'd give you guys no homework for the summer.
No homework.
No homework for this summer. But thank you so much for joining us. Our next meeting will be our next forum will be August 8th at 4:30. And so keep an eye out for our agenda and more information about that meeting to come. So nothing else.
That sounds good. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. The recording for today's meeting should be available soon. Invite people to, there's so much great information. I really hope that you share out the link and the recording within your networks. And if you have a topic that you'd like to bring to our monthly forum, please don't hesitate to reach out to Edmundo and myself. Thank you very much again, everybody, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.